So officially, welcome to the Jungle Scout Office Hours webinar. I'm your host, Lenny, and what I'm going to go through today is I'm briefly going to give a demonstration of a few different filters that you can use whilst using the Jungle Scout web app. And then we're going to dive into some questions. I've got some questions that have already been sent in. I'm going to answer those ones first. And then if you guys have any additional questions related to Jungle Scout or product research or anything just related to selling on Amazon, I'll do my best to answer those questions for you guys as well. So if you do have anything in mind, perhaps jot it down or have it ready. And then a little bit later in the webinar, I will do my best to answer them. So let's just swap this over. You guys should be able to see my screen temporarily. Also, if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, just hold them till the end and I'll look at the chat box afterwards. Okay. All right. So today's webinar goes for about an hour. We're going to go through some different ways to get product ideas. We're going to go through the product tracker briefly, and then we're going to dive into some questions. All right, so web app filter suggestion number one, we call it finding a gap in the market. So what this looks like is using the product database, and you're looking for products that have high numbers of sales and a low average star rating. Okay, so in this example, it's a minimum of 300 sales and maximum average star rating of 3. So what this means is that you're finding products that sell really well despite the fact that the listing isn't that well rated. So that provides a great opportunity for you because you can potentially sell that exact same product, but just improve upon whatever its faults are. The way I would do that is going through the listings, clicking into the reviews. You can look specifically at the 1-star and the 2-star and 3-star reviews, see what people are complaining about. You likely see a lot of the same complaints. So then take that to your supplier and see if you can find a solution for whatever the problem is, bring that product to the market, and you should be able to then capture a lot of those sales because you've fixed that problem. Web app suggestion number 2. This is where you want high, it could be high sales or revenue. We've got revenue in here as an example at 20,000, even 10,000 in revenue is a huge number. So you want high sales or revenue and very, very low reviews. So we're talking like 3 reviews or 5 reviews, a very low number. What this would suggest that this is a new emerging niche. It's a new product that's come out that's selling very well to start with, okay? Suggestion number 3, we call it a marketing opportunity. And what this looks like is a high number of sales and a low listing quality. So if you're not familiar, all the products in our database, we give them a rank between 1 and 100 for their listing quality score. And this is a combination of, you know, like the demand, the competition. No. My apologies. This is a combination of everything on their listing. So in terms of, you know, how many bullet points have they used? How many images have they utilized? How good is their description? How many characters have they used in their title? So all of that encompasses the listing quality score, with 100 being a perfect listing. So you want to find products that have a low listing quality score, but people are still buying them, even though it's not marketed that well. This provides you an opportunity, you know, to again sell that same product, but just improve upon the listing. Use more images, prettier images, actually use up all your bullet points in your description, have some nice copy there, and therefore, again, capture that market by improving upon your marketing. Okay, suggestion number 4, marketplace arbitrage. Okay, so this is really just talking about looking in other marketplaces. So if you're already, you know, if you've already launched a product or you're looking at an existing product, when you look into some of these other marketplaces, rather than just starting your product research from scratch again, why not check to see if your current products or the current ideas that you've already researched sell well in those markets. If they sell well in one, there's a good chance they might sell well in other marketplaces as well. So keep that in mind. Okay, suggestion number 5, spying on competitors. So what this looks like is high sales, of course, and then making the minimum and maximum number of sellers 1. So you're going to find listings that only have 1 seller, which means that generally that they will be private label sellers. Okay, so you're going to be seeing what other private label sellers are selling, which listings are doing well. And then you can actually take that a step further. So you can click onto one of their items, and then you can actually click on their store name where it says sold by, and then you can check out their storefront and you can see all the products that they're selling. And then quite often it will give you a little badge and tell you which are the best selling products from that seller. So yeah, you get to analyze an entire store from another seller. And if you did have the Jungle Scout Chrome extension, you can even run it on that page, and it will give you very quickly a breakdown of all the products on that person's store and how many sales they're getting for each. So checking out what other sellers are selling is a great idea also. Okay, and to wrap it up, we just highly recommend always going to the tracker before you start, before you order in a product. Why? Because you really want to validate that the sales data is actually real. Because if you're using the product database or niche hunter or the Chrome extension, we give you an estimate of the sales based on the bestseller rank. So the bestseller rank, if you don't know, is a rank that every product on Amazon has been given by Amazon based on how well it's selling. We've been able to determine approximately how many sales that item is getting based on that bestseller rank. So it's based on that point in time, which means if this product sells at the exact same rate as it is today, at this exact same rank, this is how many sales it will get for the next month. Okay, so it's a great indication, but you really want to check this over time. Why? Because it's possible that that bestseller rank has been inflated. This could happen if they were running a promotional giveaway, for instance. So that means they might have given away 100 units at 50% off, and they've got a ton of sales in a short period of time. So that would spike their bestseller rank and therefore spike the estimate that you get. So it might be telling you they get a lot more sales than they actually do. The only way to be able to tell is by tracking this product over time, which is why you want to come to the product tracker. Essentially, we can also count real sales, which is represented by these black bars, and then there'll also be estimated sales. So we recommend tracking it over time. I would say if you're serious about a product, I would track it for at least a couple of weeks, but absolutely a week at the bare minimum. You want to try to find the most consistent data. So looking at this example here, you can see that the bar pretty much stays, these orange bars here and even the black ones stay very consistent for this period of time. So whatever that average is here, I would say that, I would say quite confidently, okay, this is how many sales this product gets. For me, that would verify their average sales. Okay, another thing to keep in mind is that you can easily reference the profit per sale. So the net amount, you can see that over here. It gives you an estimate of the FBA fees that you would pay. If you were selling this product at this price, you would pay $7.01 in FBA fees, leaving $16.94 left over. So you can easily see that amount, and then you just subtract your product cost and your shipping cost from that to find out sort of your true profit. Okay, the other thing to keep in mind is any changes in pricing. So if you hover over each of these bars, it will actually tell you the price for that particular day. So if you ever see any strange days where they had like a spike in sales or something, it's worth checking what the price was on that day, because they might have dropped the price, or that might give you an indicator as to what was going on. All right, so that covers the little demonstration for today. I'll just quickly check in with the chat box. Okay, cool. Well, just to let you guys know, after this webinar, there's going to be a replay link that'll get sent out to everyone via email. So if you do want to watch this again, you will have access to it. And I'll also try and remember to include any links that I might mention throughout. Okay, so let's get to some questions. Thanks for the guys that have dropped some questions in the chat box. I will come to those as soon as I've gone through the ones that I've already got. All right. Oops. Oh, looks like I missed I missed one screen here. But yes, one other little tip to keep in mind with the product tracker is that you can actually create these little categories or bins or whatever you'd like to call it. So you can create one for each product that you want to research and track, and you can sort of, it's a good way to organize your product research. So yeah, that's definitely definitely a great tip. Okay, the first question is from Kevin. Okay, during my product research, when I'm trying to identify a niche keyword to go after, I keep coming across the same types of scenarios, you know, where the depth and the demand, the competition look great for the top 10 listings. If I only evaluated the top 10 listings, these would all be great niches and keywords to pursue. However, when I evaluate the 11th listings and up, I start to feel there are simply too many listings all trying to sell the same item. I've attached a screenshot of one of these scenarios. As you can see, the demand for the top 10 listings is well above 3,000 and the depth looks good. From a competition standpoint, one of the top 5 listings is under 100 reviews and 4 of the top 10 listings are under 100. You know, basically, I feel that this almost exactly matches what Greg says is a great niche and keyword. However, when I evaluate the other listings on page 1, from 11 to 24, I get nervous that they are all going to be real competition. If we look at them, 8 of them are under 100 reviews. 5 of those have only been listed on Amazon for about 3 or 4 months, and their listing quality is pretty good. Then when I look at page 2, there are around 6 or so listings that have only been around for 6 months or less, and their listing quality is also pretty good. Lastly, as I dive a little deeper and look at pages 3 and 4, and I'm still seeing listings for the exact same product. You know, can you talk through how you would evaluate scenarios like this? What could you see for the 11th listing and up that would make you consider not pursuing this opportunity? Likewise, what would you see on page 2, 3, and 4 that would make you not pursue the opportunity? Okay, and so this is the screenshot that Kevin sent through. Oops, move that up here. Actually, I might make this bigger again. Okay, good question. So, you know, this may be a scenario that other people out there have been in as well. I suppose you could call it that. What is it? Analysis paralysis, where the top 10 results look quite good, but then other factors sort of come in and sort of start to give you doubts. So if we do the initial check, looking at the sales in the top 10, okay, the sales here are pretty good. There are two listings here that do get a lot of the sales, and then from probably 6 to 10 here, you'll see that some of the listings are starting to get a lot less in comparison. So it's not that the sales aren't quite as spread out as I would like. However, it still might be okay. In terms of reviews, personally, I think this looks pretty good. There's one listing with 700 reviews, but otherwise they're mostly in and around the 100 mark. Personally, I still consider this product. Having that one listing with 700 is a little high, but otherwise everyone else seems okay to compete with. Okay, so what Kevin is saying is that he likes what he sees in the top 10, which is what we talk about at Jungle Scout, but then looking from 11 down, it looks like those listings are still quite competitive also. So let's look at the competition here. So if you look down here, most of the competition is still fairly low. This one here with 500 reviews is a little bit high, but otherwise the rest of the competition isn't too bad. I would I would feel okay with the competition of all of these listings so far. Again, it is good to see some sales on these other listings here. That's good because, again, it does still show me that there is depth. Our aim is to get into the top 10 listings on the first page, but it looks like even if you got, you know, anywhere between 10 and 16 on this first page, that you'd still get a few sales. So it looks like the demand is there. The reviews is pretty good. I'd be happy to look at this product more. The other thing I look at is the price point, which looks pretty good to me. There's a lot of products with over $20. It certainly looks like you could easily price your product from $15 to $20, or even higher potentially, and you know, you'd still get sales. So that is good. Kevin's question is, what would I see in, you know, after listing 10 that would make me not want to sell this product? So Kevin's done a number of good steps. He's looked at subsequent listings and he's looked at pages 2 and 3. He's looked at the listings and looked at how old they are. That is one of the things that I would do. We say that, you know, you don't want to see too many pages with the exact same product. Okay, you don't want to see pages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all selling the exact same product that you're looking for. What you'd like to see is that after probably pages 3 onwards, you'd like to see that the product doesn't quite match the keyword that you put in. So there's only maybe 2 to 3 pages of the exact product you're looking at. However, my exception to this is I don't mind if there's even 5 or 6 pages of the product I'm looking at, if those subsequent pages are all really old listings and they don't have many reviews. Sometimes if I'm investigating, let's go back to like a garlic press, okay, and you've got 10 pages of garlic presses, and initially you might be like, oh my gosh, there's too much competition, too many sellers. But if I look and see that everyone on page, you know, even page 2, 3, 4 onwards, their listings, they've all got maybe 30, 40 reviews. So they've all got very low reviews. And then I look at the age of that listing and they've all been around for like 5 or 6 years or something. If I was to see that they're old listings, then I'm not worried at all about the competition, okay? Because what I'm trying to analyze is how quickly are these listings growing? If all the listings on page 2, if they've got, you know, 50, 60 reviews, but they've only been around like 1 month, I'd be a little worried because I'd be going, okay, they've only got 50, 60 reviews, which isn't too bad, but they've only been listed for 1 month, which means that whatever that seller is doing, he is getting reviews quickly. He's clearly marketing his product heavily, and he's growing his listing. Whereas that same listing, if it had 50, 60 reviews, but it has been up for 3 or 4 years, I wouldn't be too worried because I'm like, oh, it looks like they've obviously just set and forget that listing. They aren't marketing it too heavily. So what would make me not want to sell this product is if all the listings in page 2 look like they've got quick growth in their reviews. I would say, to give you some kind of guideline or some kind of numbers, I would say if the listings on page 2 are only 3 to 4 months old and they've got, you know, maybe more than 50 or 60 reviews, I would be a little more hesitant to move in on this product. Those are just numbers that I just plucked out of the air. I'm just trying to think about what I would look for, but that's probably what I would look for. If listings are 6 months old, and they had maybe 50 reviews, I'd still consider going up against them. Yeah, you really just want to detect whether these listings are growing very quickly. Yeah, that's probably the best pointer I would give in this situation. The way to discover the age of a listing is if you open up a listing, you scroll down to the product details. It will often say date first available on Amazon, and it will give you the date. Not all listings will give you that. What I do if it doesn't tell you the date that this product was first available, I just go back and I find the oldest review. So I go scroll down, I click on, see all reviews, and then I click through, or I, go to page 10 or whatever the oldest review is, and I find out what the date is of the first review. That's not necessarily when they first started selling it, but it's the best indicator that you've got otherwise. The other thing I would do is I would look at the reviews and see how far apart they're posted. So if they're getting 1 or 2 reviews every day or every couple of days, I consider that pretty good growth. I would say, okay, this listing is growing quite fast. They may not be worth going up against these guys. But to wrap it up, I would still also come back to, what is your offering? Have you differentiated your product? Even if you do have listings on page 2 that look like they're growing fairly well, if you've got a product that is different, you've bundled your offering with something else, and you feel that you've got something different that is valuable, I would still go for it, okay? Yeah, if you're selling the exact same product, I would probably stay away. But if you've got something that is clearly different and that you believe in, then I would still keep it in mind. So hopefully, Kevin, that helped, and hopefully that helps anyone else out there that might be going through something similar. Awesome. Okay, next question, guys. I think the next one is from Kevin as well. Okay, the other type of scenario I keep running into is pretty much on the opposite end of the spectrum. From a competition standpoint, I feel very good, but I am concerned that demand is just a little too low. Right around 2,000 per month, not 3,000. From a competition standpoint, there are only 8 to maybe 12 listings in total that match the keyword being searched for. There is not even 1 page of true competition, let alone 3 or 4 pages of competition. For the niches like this, I feel confident about being able to rank in the top 10, but is this just way too low of demand? I have attached a screenshot from the extension to show you. Can you just talk through what you would be noticing when looking at this niche from a demand standpoint? Okay, thanks for the question, Kevin. So what he's saying is that only sort of the top few listings, what was it, the top 5 or 6, the top sort of 8 to 12 listings are the product that he's searched for, and then the rest aren't even the same product. So he's worried that the demand is a little bit too low. Just quickly looking at this, it does look like the listing number 2 here seems to get the most sales. Then after that, it does seem to drop off quite a lot. So I would say in this situation, it looks like the depth of the market isn't great enough. It looks like 1 listing seems to get the majority of the sales. You'll also notice here that that's the 1 listing that has the most reviews, but the rest have very few. So yeah, it looks like most people are buying this product. So unless you're very confident that you've got a product that would be better than probably this listing, I'd probably stay away. It just looks like the depth in the market isn't good enough. But to try and add more value to this question, what would you do if it looks like the demand isn't great enough? The numbers that the 3,000 per month in the top 10 listings is a guideline, and I think it's a pretty good guideline to try to stick to. However, I'd sometimes consider products that have lower demand if they've got really low competition. Sometimes it might be worth looking for products that have a little bit less demand if you think it's easier to rank for that product. Why? Because if you can rank easier for that product, it's probably going to cost you less in PPC and in giveaways and marketing costs to get ranked and get sales. So there might actually be a few less marketing expenses related with going into that niche. So therefore, even though the demand mightn't be as much, you might actually get a little bit more profit potentially than going into a market that has more demand but more competition. So that's the way I'd look at it. The other thing that I'd look at as well is how cheap can you source the product? You know, if you've got a potential product that has only 2,000 demand, it's not as much as you'd like, but it's like a product you can source for $1. And maybe your landed cost into Amazon might be like $1.50. I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to send in 500 units and give it a shot, because the risk to me is quite low. It's a low investment. And if I can easily rank in this product, I mightn't make as many sales as I'd like, but the investment's quite cheap. So I'd look at how much you can get your product for as well. So hopefully that helps, Kevin. Okay, next question. Sorry. Then I did have the name for who sent this one in, but I've lost it, unfortunately. But anyhow, question number 1. I viewed a few videos explaining how to search and filter through products in the database. I use criteria similar to the ones presented by Greg in the $1 Million Case Study. I find some that I'm interested in. However, that's when I started to get overwhelmed. I open up the Amazon product page and click the extension to view the top 10 other sellers for that product. For me, it's almost always the same results. I recant the product I had clicked on whose reviews were not the greatest, and not over 100 in quantity, but the demand is there, now has other sellers. 2 or 3 sellers that are doing amazing. Should I be concerned about that? Or do you believe that because there is high demand, there is enough space for competition? Some of the sellers are doing very poorly, but a few of them are doing okay. Is that an opportunity? Okay, so firstly, just to set down some definitions. I'm not quite sure which one you're talking about in this particular question, but you've got other listings, and then on an individual listing, you can have other sellers, okay? I don't want to confuse this. I don't want to confuse anyone too much. But what I think this person is talking about is they found a potential listing in the product database that looks quite good. Again, let's say it's a garlic press. It's got high sales, low reviews. And then you're like, great, a garlic press is awesome. Then you go to Amazon and you search for garlic press. You see that one listing there that looks good, but then there's lots of other ones that maybe do have high competition. So that's why it is worth going to Amazon and looking at sort of the top 10 listings. The products in the product database are just a starting point. You then need to go into the niche a little bit deeper and assess the top 10 listings. That's when I would go into. That's why where I would go into the analysis that we just did before, where you're looking at the top 10, you're seeing, how much demand can you get in the top 10, and how are the reviews in the top 10? What is the sort of average price point? So yeah, essentially, to answer this question, I would just go back to what we talk about normally. So I would look at the top 10 sellers. If they've got lots and lots of reviews, it's like, in 8 of the top 10, you would ideally like to see around about 100 or less reviews. Maybe have 2 or 3 listings that have a few hundred or 500 reviews. Anything more than that, it's starting to be too competitive. The other thing that people mention as well is the fact that you can have multiple sellers on an individual listing. Now, personally, I wouldn't worry if you've got listings that have multiple sellers. I know that might get a bit confusing, but I just would eliminate that and not worry about it. Because really, all you're trying to do is you're trying to compete with the different listings. You're not trying to compete with the 10 sellers that are on a particular listing. Why? Because at the end of the day, those 10 sellers are just on one listing. That one listing only takes up that one spot of real estate. When customers go to buy on Amazon, they just look at the individual listings. They're not trying to look at who's selling each one. So I wouldn't even worry about how many sellers are on listings. I just look at what listings are there and how competitive they are. And then, as I said before, look at the competition on the top 10 and the sales on the top 10. Okay, next question from Celine. Okay, some background. I've got both the web app and the Chrome extension. Number one, I viewed a few videos explaining how to search and filter through products in the database. Oh, sorry, that was your question. Okay, excellent. Well, I hope that helped, Celine. On to the next question from Justin. What are the best ways to estimate the second part of FBA fees when evaluating a product? Not the 15% commission. Okay, let's see if we can bring up an example. Okay, so we're in the product database now. If you look at any products here, whoops. Sorry guys, just let me bring this up. There's two ways. Jungle Scout can help you calculate the fees, and then Amazon also have their own calculator. One moment and I will bring that up. Oops, and I'll share my screen with you guys again. Okay, you guys should be able to see my screen. So the quick and easy way, if you've got the Jungle Scout Chrome extension, it does a really good job of this. So if you're wanting to calculate the FBA fees, I would look up your product. Let's say it's a yoga mat. So you look it up, you run the Chrome extension on that page. You can do that on the product listing page as well. And then make sure that you've got in the options, you want the net box to be checked so that you see this number over here. You click on this one and it brings up a little FBA profit calculator. So by default, it puts in this current listing price of $16.14, and it tells you that based on that and what product it is, you would pay an FBA fee of $9.37 in total for this particular product. However, you do have the option of changing the price here, which is really nice because it's like, okay, I want to sell a yoga mat, but mine I might want to sell for $24.99. So that will give you the FBA fee, which will be $10.70. So you know how much that is. The other cool thing is that you can go to a supplier, get a quote from them, and then you can put in your product cost here. So let's say it's going to cost me, $6 to get the product and ship it into Amazon. Put in your product cost, and now you've got more of a true profit. So $8.29 is the amount after a sale. You take away Amazon's fee and you take away the product cost. This is how much you have left. So this is a really great tool. This is the one that I use quite a lot. And then I always experiment. So I kind of, if I'm doing product research and I'm like, oh, I really like the idea of these yoga mats. I look at it and I kind of go, okay, the average price here is about $20, but I'm going to bundle mine with a yoga block or something. So I think I can sell it for a little bit more. I'm like, how much profit would I get at $22? And I'd compare various price points, and then I go, okay, if I just can't sell it for any more than what everyone else is selling, if I just had to sell it at the same price as everyone else, would I still make profit? And then I calculate it at that price. So it's really good being able to change your price here so that you can see how much profit you get based on different price points. So I'd kind of look at price points of like worst case scenario and so forth. And I'd look at like, how low can I go before I start to lose money? So let's just say I change that to $16.99. Okay, so it'd be sort of like, okay, below $15.99, I'm soon gonna lose. That's my break even point. So this calculator is super cool to use. If you don't have the Chrome extension, the product database and Niche Hunter, the web app has it does calculate fees here under the listings. However, it calculates fees only for the price of this product. It doesn't allow you to put in your own price. It only shows you the fees based on the price displayed here. The other way is that Amazon have a revenue calculator as well. So I'll drop the link for that one in the chat box and send that out with the replay link for this webinar. Now, let's see. It's been a little while since I've used this, so I'll see if I can go through a demonstration and remember. It's a little bit more complicated, but once you get used to it, it's fine. So firstly, you choose whether you want to use FBA or FBM. Let's say you want to do FBA. So first, you just select the product that you want. It doesn't have to be an exact product, as in it doesn't have to be a particular brand or anything, as long as it's the same product, so that it's calculating fees based on the correct category. So, okay, I've picked my yoga mat, and let's say my item price is going to be $20. Shipped to Amazon. Okay, it costs me like $1.50 per unit. And the cost of my product is, say, $5, and calculate. All right, so it tells me my net profit is $1.06, which is great. Let's just see how to read this. Okay, so it's telling you the FBA fees are $9.44. Selling on Amazon fees, so that I think is the referral fee. Oh, actually, I think this fulfillment fee includes, oh no, sorry, this looks like it's the total FBA fees, okay. And then they include the shipping to Amazon in the fulfillment fees. Yes, this calculator is a little bit more confusing. But what I tend to do anyway is that I normally just add my shipping cost to the product cost. So whatever it costs to source the product and to ship it from China to the US, I just combine that into one sort of product cost. So for me, I would probably leave that at 0 unless you use Amazon's reshipping service. But if you're shipping direct to Amazon, I personally would just, change this to whatever you like. Cool. But it's good here that it does tell you the total fulfillment cost here, and then it shows you how much you would have remaining after you subtract these amounts. So okay, so these are a couple of ways to use to calculate the FBA fees. And actually, yeah, this is quite interesting as well. It's been a while since I've used this one. But yeah, actually, this does some cool sort of forecasting if you to give you the difference between selling by yourself and selling on Amazon. So if you were to then put in the the item price and how much it would cost for you to fulfill the items, so you fill out details for both FBA and FBM, then you estimate how many units you'd sell per month. Let's say it's like 300. It will actually give you a breakdown of how much revenue you would make via fulfilled by Amazon versus fulfilling yourself, which is kind of cool. But in most cases, we just recommend doing the FBA model anyway. Okay, so that wraps up the questions that I've got so far. Now I'm going to jump into the chat box and answer some questions from you guys. Just give me a moment to run to the top. Okay, so question from Al. If you launch more than one product, is there a way to have more than one Amazon seller account and keep the accounts separate? For example, if you don't want competition knowing the variety of products that you sell. Okay, so firstly, Amazon discourage people from having multiple accounts. Yeah, they basically they say not to have multiple accounts. I think if they catch you doing that without permission, you can. There are exceptions, I believe, but you do need to contact Amazon and organize having multiple accounts and state your reason. So generally speaking, no, you wouldn't have more than one seller account. And so you're saying you'd like to have different seller accounts for the reason, like keeping them separate so that the competition doesn't know the variety of products that you sell. For me personally, that wouldn't be too much of an issue. For me, that's kind of focusing on, I suppose, the fear of competition coming in. I'd prefer not to really worry about that, but just focus on the steps ahead of me in launching those products and making them succeed. So I wouldn't be too worried about competition coming in, seeing the variety of products that I sell. It's not a very straightforward thing to set up different seller accounts. Kathy says, are you going to cover Amazon affiliate marketing at all? No, we don't really cover Amazon affiliate marketing. That is a very separate thing to private label and selling physical products on Amazon. So that's not our area of expertise. James says, how to watch this presentation again. There will be a replay link that will be sent out to everyone that's joined today. Judah says, is there a way to export the data from the product tracker? Actually, that's a good question. From the product tracker, there is from the Niche Hunter and the database. I don't know that I actually have exported data from the product tracker. No, I don't think there is currently, but that's a good suggestion. I will put in a feature request for that one and see what the team thinks. So thanks for that, Judah. Lester asks, can you explain the process to determine whether a product would be profitable once all import fees are calculated? Do you negotiate the price for the product with the factory and then get import costs from a freight forwarder? Oh, sorry, I'm just going to take a drink because my speech is getting all muddled. But yes, Lester, that would be the steps. First, you would negotiate the price with your supplier, settle on a price for that. I would then find out the shipping costs by contacting a freight forwarder, giving them the dimensions of your boxes and the weight, which you can get all from the supplier. Then they can give you a quote on the shipping as well. Also, import costs. So if you're talking about customs duties, there is actually a website that I think I only just found it yesterday, where you can type in the product that you're looking to sell and the value of that shipment, and it will give you an estimate of how much your tax fees would be. So that one's really cool. So at this point, then you've got how much your unit cost is from your supplier. Then you've got a shipping quote from a freight forwarder, and then you can also get an estimate of how much tax you might have to pay if it's a very large shipment. So you then got the total costs to get it to Amazon, and then you can obviously work out whether it's profitable from there. So I'll drop that link for where to find the tax estimates in the email as well. Okay, let's see. Mark says, what is reserved inventory detected mean? Actually, this is something that I'm not up to speed with, so I can't answer that question because I don't know at this point. I do need to check up on that, but I'll try to remember to do that and add a brief definition in the send out email. Okay. Let me just write down these things, texture these, and reserved inventory. I'm just making a note to myself so I remember to send you guys the resources. Okay, Sunil says, I missed the second strategy. Let me just quickly recap. The second strategy, new emerging niches. So what that looks like is looking for products that have high sales or revenue and very low reviews, only 3 or 5 or maybe 10 reviews. So you're looking for products that are very new and are selling very well. So that's number 2. Okay, James says, can I register as a seller with Amazon without having a product? Yes, you can. Yep, you can register on Amazon anytime, but if you register as a professional seller, you're going to start being charged $39.99 per month until you start selling. So I'd probably recommend registering when you're close, within a few weeks or a couple of weeks of getting started. But yes, you can register without having a product. Zara says, is baby a restricted category? I'm sorry, Zara, I don't actually know. I'm not an expert when it comes to gated categories and restricted categories, so I'm not sure, unfortunately. Doug says, I'm a drop shipper on Amazon. I do not use FBA. How can Jungle Scout benefit me? So Jungle Scout can still benefit you the same way it does for FBA sellers. It can find you potential products to sell, or could help you find new products to expand your line to. If you're just looking for drop shipping products, it might be a little bit harder because not every product out there is able to be drop shipped. I suppose there's only certain companies or certain places that offer a drop shipping service. So yeah, if you're looking to just drop ship, you might be better off just trying to find companies that do offer drop shipping and find products that way. James says $13.99 to $38.49 range for the same product in the screenshot. Yeah, that's pretty common. I mean, it's really hard without seeing the actual products themselves. But yeah, quite a lot of the time with most products you find, I tend to see there's always, there's like a middle ground. There's like, okay, the average price could be about $20. Then there's always people selling on the lower end of like $10. Then there's always, someone that might be selling at $30, $35 selling on the high end. So yeah, it's hard to say why there's such a big difference in the prices without seeing the search breakdown. It could actually be a slightly different product, or it could be, it could be a bundle. It could be like a 10-pack of whatever that is. So there's a number of reasons, but I think it's fairly common. Ian asks, what does the I on the summary mean? He's referring to, in one of the screenshots, there was an I. Okay, if you hover over that I, it just brings up a little tooltip that tells you that we weren't able to get that information for whatever reason. Amazon wasn't giving us this information. It says that it looks like we weren't able to get a bestseller rank. So for whatever reason, we couldn't get the bestseller rank, or Amazon wasn't giving us the bestseller rank for that product. Therefore, if we can't have the bestseller rank, we can't estimate the sales and the revenue and so forth. So normally when you see the I, it just means that we weren't able to get that data back. Okay, Eddie asks, what about items that are not related in the top 10? Should they be deleted from the extension and not taken into account? Yes, that's what I would say. If you're looking at the top 10, there's a couple of listings in there that aren't even relevant. Yeah, I would just delete them and just analyze the ones that are relevant. Peter asks, how can you check the age of a listing? Cool. So I mentioned it before. I'll quickly go through it again. There's a couple of ways to do it. Hopefully I'll find a listing that shows it to me. So if I click on a particular listing, sometimes it will say the when it was first listed. Oops. It's usually under, I think, this section here, product details or product information or something like that. I don't think it's telling me on this one. I'll see if there's any other listings. It certainly not every product tells you when it was first listed. It would be great if I could find an example to show you what that does look like. I'm just going to close this video for a second because I can't see my screen. I don't know what the criteria is. Once upon a time, I thought it might have been due to like maybe certain categories will display that box and then others won't. But then I found even within the same category for the exact same products, some would show it, some wouldn't. Let's just try something completely random. This one's not showing it. There's got to be something out there that is. No. Okay, well, I'll go through what I would do in this situation. So the first thing I do is come down here to the product details and it will say date first available on Amazon. And then it will give you the exact date. If it doesn't have that, and I'm wondering how old is this listing? It's got 400 reviews. How long has it taken them to get them? So I click on the reviews. We can see all the reviews here. Sort by just see all 400 reviews. So now I'm looking at every single review on this listing. I scroll down to the bottom and I click on page 41. I get right to the end. Then I look at the very first review and go, okay, the first review was on July the 10th, 2014. So this listing is almost 3 years old. Okay. So, most likely they got this review it would have been fairly close to when it started. It could have been like within 2 or 3 weeks, you would think, of when it started. So it's roughly 3 years old. And it was, roughly in July 2014. So then I could look at this listing and go, okay, 3 years to get 400 reviews. And then I'd sort of assess how quickly I think this listing is growing. The other thing that I like to look at, if this is in the situation that I'm assessing competition, is I like to see how quickly they're getting reviews. So here they got a review, looking at the most recent, not the top, but the most recent. They got a review on April 22nd, then March 20th. There was like a whole month in between. Then a couple of weeks before that, then another couple of weeks in between there, 3 days in between, 1 day in between, 7 days, 3 days. It looks like maybe they were getting a few more reviews around Christmas time, like only at the start of January. It looks like they were getting a couple of reviews on January 3rd. They were getting reviews a day or a few days apart, but now it looks like they're only getting one review every sort of month at the moment. Obviously that doesn't correlate directly to sales, but I'm kind of like, okay, if they're getting one review per month, I just try to come up with a figure where I'm like, okay, let's say that you will get maybe one review per 30 sales. Every 30 sales, let's say, or 20 or 30 sales, someone might leave a review. And then that just gives you a little bit of an idea about how well they're selling. On the flip side, if you see a product that is getting a review every day or a couple of reviews every day, normally they're selling pretty well. I would think that they're certainly getting at least 10, 15, maybe 20 sales per day, because I've found in most cases, not everyone will leave a review. It probably is only like 1 in 20, depending on the product. So I'm kind of like, yeah, if I go off of like 1 in 20 or 30 sales leave a review and they're getting a review every day, then therefore they might be getting like 20 sales a day. If you can't find out any other information. So that's the way I like to look at it. Craig asked, how do you determine how long the listing has been around? That was actually there's quite a few questions there asking how to find the age of a product. So I've just answered that, hopefully. Okay, Gina asks, in regards to categories, is my listing better placed in the top of the listing or further down the category listing tree? E.g. in sports and outdoors or sports and outdoors, winter, sports, skiing. I think in most cases you have to choose a subcategory. You always need to be in a subcategory because what you'll find is that you'll get ranked in both. You choose a subcategory and you'll get a ranking in that subcategory, and you'll also get a ranking in the main category as well. So yeah, there are some products that don't get a parent category ranking, but most of them will. Let's have a look at this listing. Excuse me. Okay, so you'll see here, this listing has a rank in sports and outdoors, and then they've also got ranks in these subcategories, in 3 of them by the looks of it. So I suppose quickly on that note, once upon a time, Amazon would allow you to, you could contact them and you could get ranked in different subcategories. Now they only allow you to get ranked in one. But you still see lots of existing products that are ranked in multiple subcategories. I don't quite understand it because now Amazon only allows you to be in one, but that's just how it is. So yeah, keep that in mind. You do choose a subcategory and you get ranked in that one as well as the parent. Okay, Joe says, do you guys run your own store as well? Can you discuss your strategy, the amount of inventory you order, profit margin on your products, supply chains used? Good question, Joe. So we're actually running a public case study at the moment. Probably a lot of you have heard of it, the $1 Million Case Study. I would recommend tuning into that. It's free. We're covering all the steps of finding a product idea, sourcing it, selling it, everything. And we're sharing every single step along the way. So I'd recommend tuning into that one because we're going to delve deep into the strategy of inventory management when we're placing orders, how we're figuring out the profit margins, etc. So that would be the best resource to go to. I'll see what I can think of to kind of share with you right now. In my personal experience, what I've found in terms of reordering inventory, most of the time I find that I just reorder it as soon as I can afford it. Often with the first shipments, it might be a little bit of a catch-up game where it's like you're desperately waiting for your payment to come in from Amazon so that you can quickly order the next shipment so that you hopefully get that next shipment in before you run out of stock. So in terms of knowing when to order, for me, it's always been like just as soon as I've got the money to afford it, I'm trying to order in the next shipment. So that's what I've found a lot of the time. One thing I would mention when you're looking at expanding your product line, I would say try to hang on and stay with your existing product as long as possible. I made a mistake once. Actually, I made the mistake twice of wanting to introduce a second product, and I spent money on the second product, and consequently, I then ended up running out of money to get in the next shipment on my first product, which ran out of stock. So I ended up losing momentum on my first product because it ran out of stock. I dropped my keyword rankings. I lost sales. Then when I got more stock in, I had to do like a small giveaway to kind of get the sales going again. Meanwhile, I've got my second product, which is still very new. I was still trying to do giveaways and stuff and trying to get some new reviews. So it was still a very new listing that needed a lot of time and effort on it. And then my main product, was suffering because I'd introduced a new product too soon. I pulled money away from my first one too soon. So I would recommend staying with your first product until you can comfortably order in like 1,000 or maybe even a couple of thousand of units at a time. Perhaps you're getting them in via sea shipment now, so that you're really optimizing your product cost, getting that down as low as possible. Then once you're comfortable with like, yep, I've got at least a couple of months of inventory, I can afford to divert some of my money to a new product, I would calculate how much money do I need to get, at least say 1,000 units for my second product, and kind of go, can I afford 1,000 units of this second product, but still have enough left over that I can order in the next shipment for my first product? As long as you can afford to do both of those things, then you should be okay. But again, yeah, it's hard to go deep into the strategy now. I'd recommend the $1 million case study. So I hope that helps. Okay, question from Celine. If I launch a product, could my product end up in the other sellers and my page not display? Do you mean by that you won't appear on page one, that you'll appear on later pages? If so, you've got a brand new listing. When you first launch, you're going to be on page like 500. You're just not going to be seen. So you need to get sales one way or another. The easiest ways to do that is to do a bit of a product giveaway to start with. So you're selling some discounted items, but you're getting a few sales. That will just start to get you ranked on a few random keywords and just get you into the game. At the start, it's a matter of rinsing and repeating this process of doing some regular giveaways with a bit of a discount. I'd turn on PPC fairly early, just so that it gets your listing exposed. You could be exposed on page one, even though you've got 0 reviews and you just put the listing up yesterday. PPC is great because if you target that keyword and you bid high enough, you could actually be shown at the very top before anyone else, even though your listing was set up yesterday. So that will give you exposure. It will cost you more though when you first start out because you've got very few reviews, but it still might be worth taking that hit. See it as a marketing cost. You need to spend a bit of money at the start in order to get your product some sales momentum and get those first reviews. So you might have to just keep going. It might even be like break-even price. You mightn't be making much, if any, profit at the start for a few weeks or so until you can get at least 5, 10, 15 reviews. I definitely recommend using a automated email campaign from the very start, so that everyone that is buying your product is getting some follow-up emails. So you provide a good customer service. You're gently asking them for a review. That will increase your chances of getting some reviews, which is what you need to get your listing started. So I'd highly recommend that. We recommend Jump Send if you want to look into that further. Okay, Judah asks, I'm watching Greg perform product research in the $1 million case study. I noticed the evaluation is done on the first 10 listings on the page versus the highest ranking products. Can you explain why you might be looking at the top 10 on the page versus the top 10 highest ranking listings? Yes, I can explain that, Judah. So the reason that we're looking at just the top 10 as they are ranked on the page is because that's how customers buy. Customers, if they're looking for a product, they'll go to Amazon, they'll generally type in the search term that they're looking for, and then they'll look at those products from the top to the bottom. So however they're displayed, okay? So that's how customers find products. So we want to make sure that we're trying to get into that space where customers look. So that's why we just look at how they're ranked based on the search terms. What the trick is though is knowing what the right search term is to look for, because you want to be looking at a search term that is what the majority of customers are looking for. So you want to be finding the most popular search term or the most common keywords that people are looking at, so that you are assessing the right top 10. But that is why we look at just the top listings. I'd extend that to the top page. I look predominantly at the top 10 and analyze those listings, but I'd still look at the top 15 or 20 or whatever that first page is. Victoria says, sometimes when I bring up a product on Jungle Scout Pro, it shows one or more lines highlighted. What does that mean? Highlighted lines. That will mean those are variations of a product. So if you've got a listing that has a number of different colors or sizes, when you run the Jungle Scout extension, it will show the parent listing, and then it will actually show different lines with the different variations of that listing, and those will be highlighted. So that's what that is. Peter says, you didn't have to tell the calculator the size and weight of the product. No, Peter, because it is grabbing that information from the product that you input. So if you're looking at whether it be using Amazon's calculator over here, or whether you're using our profit calculator over here, oops. Yeah, whether you're using our so this calculator here, it's actually grabbed the dimensions from the listing that I clicked on. And in this one over here on Amazon, it's grabbing the weight and the dimensions from the product I put up here. So you want to make sure that the product that you select as kind of the guinea pig for your calculations, you want to make sure it's pretty similar to yours. Okay, and so it should be fine as long as the product's not drastically different and in a completely different category. You should be fine. Like if you're selling a yoga mat, as long as you choose a yoga mat that's pretty similar in size and weight, then the calculation should be correct. Sebastian says, can you export from the product database? Yes, you can. Okay. Let's click in here. You do a search. You see a button over here, CSV, so you can download an Excel file to view all the products in a spreadsheet later on. So yes, you can download from there. Craig says, on the topic of downloading data, how do you download more than 200 rows from the product database? Search, that's been highly annoying to me to have to do so many different sheets and combine them. Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Craig. Yes, currently you can only download 200 at a time. You can change the results per page here to 200. It will display 200 results. Then when you download the Excel spreadsheet, it will only show those 200 products. Unfortunately, that's the limit at the moment. We don't have the ability to go further, but thank you for the suggestion. I'll pass that on to the team, and we'll look at perhaps extending that. But thanks for the suggestion. Sunil says, how do you go about ordering and testing a product on Amazon? If you're looking at just testing a product, a good way to go about it is to go to aliexpress.com. Alibaba is the sort of the big one, the main one that we recommend. However, if you go to Alibaba, you'll generally need to, you'll have a higher minimum order quantity. So you might be expected to purchase at least 500, maybe 1,000 units of a particular product. If you just want to try it out, you can go to AliExpress. You can just order 1, 5, 10, 50 units if you want, smaller quantities. And if you just want to test out that product, go to AliExpress, buy it from there, and send into Amazon just to test it, test that listing and try it out. You will probably pay a little bit more on there. You're going to get a better unit cost if you go to Alibaba because you're buying in bulk. But if you don't have much money, you want to test it out first, AliExpress is your best option. Kevin says, have you heard any updates in regards to the brand registry program? Will trademark be required or will pending trademark work? I don't know. No, I haven't heard any more information on that. I'm sure Amazon will release more information about that as time gets close. Samuel says, are you Australian? Yes, I am Australian. I'm based, I've been doing a lot of traveling lately, but I'm based in Brisbane at the moment. So yes. Mel asks, can you please explain any of the limitations of any data accuracy on JS other than the data delays explained in the tutorials? especially for the sales volume and the inventory levels in the product tracker. Can you explain any limitations of the data accuracy? Okay, well, okay, so firstly, the product database and Niche Hunter, they work off sales estimates as well as the Chrome extension. So we estimate those sales based on the bestseller rank. Now, we do have a great blog post that I can link to that goes into the data science behind it. But essentially, there's a room for there's a margin for error, but it's pretty small. It's like a few percent either side of the actual the actual sales. So we're within a very close margin of what the actual sales are. We can't guarantee it. They are estimates. Amazon doesn't give out the sales data of any products. So we have to put in a lot of work to try to figure out what the sales are. But, to give you an idea, we do believe we've got the best estimates in the industry. Like we have a full-time data scientist whose job is, full-time just to keep tweaking and making sure that all our algorithms for each category, because the bestseller rank does change between the categories. So, number one in sports and outdoors might sell differently than number one in home and kitchen. Okay, so it does vary for each category, but we have a data scientist full-time that's correlating using real sales data. So between ourselves, we've got access to a lot of products. And so using products and those real sales, we're able to use that data to help us come up with the estimates for the different categories. So yes, there is some margin for error, but we do believe it's the best that you will find. What other limitations are there? So you mentioned the inventory levels in the product tracker. Those are pretty darn accurate. So in the product tracker, the way that we count sales here is by counting the inventory levels. So if there's 500 stock one day, 400 the next, most likely they've had 100 sales in that period. It's possible that a few of those sales might be from something else. They've removed a few inventory or something, but it's highly unlikely. Any difference in inventory is most likely going to be sales. So that data is very accurate. Where you might have some issues is with counting the inventory. So one thing that people can do is that you can set a maximum order quantity for your listing. So you can cap the number of the number of units that people purchase to say like 30 units. So no one can purchase more than that. That means when we go to check how much inventory a person's got, every single day it's going to say they've got 30 inventory, even though they might have 600. So because it's coming up with 30 inventory every day, we can't track the difference in inventory. We can't track the real sales on those particular days. So that might be a situation that you sometimes see on the product tracker. But I think we're just in the process, or I think we might have actually just released a feature that's able to detect if someone has done that. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't see any sales registered for those days. That is one limitation of the tracker. But yeah, I believe that we've just implemented a fix to detect when that's the case. And I think we then might revert back to estimated sales on those particular days. Number two, if there are any inaccuracies, do their limitations vary a lot in some circumstances, such as a time of week or month, or perhaps Amazon changing algorithms? So I just explained some of the circumstances that you might see in the product tracker. Know that there are no like times of the week that or Amazon changing their algorithms. There's no particular times that this might affect us. Unfortunately, Amazon do change their algorithms a lot. Big shout out to like our dev team and the data scientists and so forth that are working with this, because it can be quite difficult working with what information we get from Amazon. But we've got a dedicated team working full time so that when Amazon does make changes, we adapt very quickly. So we do our very best to be accurate all the time. So no, there's no times of week that things might be more off than others. Number 3, if there are inaccuracies, what would you suggest I do to compensate for some data accuracy limitations? Example A, average over greater time periods. B, assume data resolution to be in the order of plus minus 10, 20%, etc. The best thing to do is to always, average over greater periods of time. I always like to stress you want to track your products over a greater period of time. I say 2 weeks because most people, you want data straight away. You'd love to know, like today, whether this product sells well or not. But you really need to be patient. A week at the bare minimum, but at least a couple of weeks. You want to see how well a product's doing over time. The more time that you allow and the more data that you get, the more confident you can be that is selling well. Okay. And sometimes 2 weeks isn't enough. It depends on the quality of the data. If you've got 2 weeks of data, but the sales are all over the place, you still can't be confident what those sales are doing. I would say 2 weeks, but what you really need is good blocks of consistent data. So if I go to the product tracker now, where is it? These are sample products, but this is good here because you've got 12 to 15 days where you can see the amount of sales every day is pretty consistent. So whatever this average is, what is it saying? 80 per day. I'm like, this average is very solid. But if every second one, like if this had a big spike up here, then this day had 0, this had somewhere in between. If you had all these weird spikes throughout, I wouldn't be very confident about that data. You want to see consistency in the sales. So longer periods of time is better. This one's pretty good. So let's see, you've got 8 sales on this day, 8, 6, 13, 13, 3. If you just looked at those days, you wouldn't really have any idea because it ranges from like 3 sales all the way up to 13, then other days 6 or 8. But if you were to look at this 30 days of data, you do have these little spikes where it goes between 3 to 13, but over 30 days, you've got a much better average, 6 sales per day. So you've got more data, you can make a better decision. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, Shrikant asks, can you recap on marketplace arbitrage strategy number 4? Sure, I can do that. I believe that one, was looking at your competitors. Okay. Okay, so basically that's looking for high sales and looking for listings that only have one seller on there. Listings that just have one seller on there, it generally means that they're a private label seller. Not all the time, but quite often, because private label sellers are the seller and the manufacturer, so there really shouldn't be anyone else on that listing. So basically, this should identify listings that are mostly sold by private label sellers. Essentially, just because it's quite interesting to see what other opportunities private label sellers have found, and it might give you some ideas. You don't necessarily have to copy what they're selling, but it might give you some ideas, might help you think outside of the box. You can then click on their listing and then click on their seller store, which is down here. So if I'm inside of a listing, this is their seller store here. I click on that one. Now I can click on their storefront and I will see all the products that they're selling. All their other products mightn't be as good of an opportunity as the one that you just viewed, but it's always interesting to see what different products they are selling. This could be a private label seller for all I know, because they do seem to have a big variety of products here. I think often it will show you the best-selling products from a particular seller. It doesn't look like it is in this case, but sometimes it will say these are the best sellers. Or if you have the Jungle Scout extension, you can just run it. Now we're analyzing all the listings in their store, and it looks like this seller store, they do a lot of good, they do a lot of sales. They're doing quite well, and then you can analyze their reviews and so forth. So that's the marketplace arbitrage. Okay, Sunil says, when testing, do you have to go through the whole process of a new product launch? I suppose yes is the answer. So I guess it depends on what you mean by a new product launch. So if I was doing a test order, I would still get probably 40, 50 items. I would send them into Amazon. I would still get good photos done. I would still take a bit of time to write good copy for the description, the bullet points, the title. I would still turn on the PPC. The first thing I would do is run a giveaway. If I send in 50 items, I would probably do a giveaway on at least 10 or 15. And then based on that first 10 or 15 that I've given away, I don't know, I'd probably then start doing every second day or something. I would give away another 3 items or something. I would turn on email campaigns so that from some of those sales, hopefully I start to get a couple of reviews. I'd either turn on PPC immediately, or the moment I've got even 1 review, I would turn it on. And then I just rinse and repeat, doing a giveaway of 2 or 3 items every couple of days, and have PPC going. But what I'd be watching for is to see if I'm starting to rank naturally for some of my main keywords. And I'd also be wanting to see if I get any organic sales that weren't due to a giveaway. And if I got an organic sale, if I got an organic sale, even with the use of PPC, if I got an organic sale in the first week and I had only 0 or 1 reviews, I'd be like, yes. If I can get a sale without any reviews, then I know that once I get some reviews, this will definitely sell. And then I'd be starting to plan, okay, I need to start organizing a bigger shipment. So to answer your question, yes, I probably would go through the entire launch process, even if you're doing a test product or a small order. Al says, I've experienced if it takes your product too long to sell, Amazon will stop you from having the buy box even if you are the only seller. The problem then becomes your campaign ads do not show. The ads only show if you have the buy box. Okay, that's sort of an interesting question or observation. So you're saying if you don't sell for a long time, Amazon will take the buy box away from you. Well, I suppose what I would say is if you're going a long period without getting sales, I would be I would be doing something to get some sales. I would be running some promotional giveaways, or I would drop my price a little bit and see if that starts to get sales. Personally, I just wouldn't get to the point where you haven't got a sale for weeks. Personally, I'm just not that patient. If it had gone a week without sales, I would be doing something drastic to get some kind of sale. So that's what I would say to that. Judah asks to the question about the I. Many times this happens because there is no product category associated with a listing. This can happen when Amazon recategorizes things from time to time. Yes, that's a good point, Judah. The way we estimate sales is off the parent category ranking. Sometimes, for whatever reason, Amazon will take that away temporarily or completely. If they don't have a parent category ranking, we can't estimate the sales. Also, there are some categories like electronics and computer categories that don't even display a parent category at all, which unfortunately means we can't estimate the sales. Sebastian says, what is your web app plan? You can track 300 plus products, and the web app business can only track 150 products. Yeah, so our biggest plan is the web app business plan, which can track 150 products. If you do want more, if you wanted to track more, you could reach out to our team at support@junglescout.com, and we might be able to customize a plan for you, but generally that's the highest. I can track more because I've got an admin account, so I've got special privileges. But yeah, generally speaking, it goes up to 150 for the maximum plan. But also keep in mind that you can also delete current things that you're tracking and replace them. So, even if you're on the startup plan, which is 40 products, you can delete some of those to bring in new ones. So keep that in mind. Sunil says, age of listing can be checked on CCC. I didn't know that. Would you mind clarifying, Sunil, what CCC is? That would be a great resource for everyone here to know. Is that camel, camel, camel? Yeah, so if it is, there's a website called Camel, 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 www.camelcamelcamel.com. Put in the ASIN, and it sounds like you can check when a listing was created. So thanks for that, Sunil. That's a great tip. James says, I've seen a big black bar in quite a few products that I'm tracking that shows a product that usually sells 10 a day, and then all of a sudden they sell 600 in one day. But Keeper does not show a lightning deal or any drastic price drop. Can you explain this? What it could be is that person has limited their maximum order quantity. So they, if they had 600 in inventory and they were selling about 10 a day, and then suddenly it looks like they did about 600 in sales, what they might have done is restricted their maximum order quantity to 1 unit. So that would trick Jungle Scout. When we're checking their inventory, we're seeing, okay, they've got 620 today, they've got 610 the next day, they've got 600 units the next day, and then suddenly the next day we check, and the data that we get back from Amazon says they've only got 1 unit. That's all that it will allow us to purchase. So when we check, it says they've only got 1 unit, so it would appear as though they've done 600 sales or so in one day, when obviously that's not the case. Now, that is, as I mentioned earlier, something that we're working on. I think we might actually have something in place now that detects that, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully you won't see that anymore. I believe that we've got a feature that detects when that has happened. Lester says just to continue on from that question, James, that's why when I'm doing product research, I eliminate any days that are really weird. If it looks like this product's been doing 10 a day and then there's some weird spike, whether it be a high one or a low one, I eliminate those and just look at the blocks of consistent data. Because more likely than not, you'll get a weird day like that, and then it might go back to 10 per day. So I just cross that one day out and go, yeah, that's obviously not right, and just look at the blocks of consistent data. Lester says, my product has 6 pages of results, and most, if not all, are no more than 2 months old, yet there are over 10,000 sales in the top 10 and another several thousand for the rest of the page. Is this listing growing too fast to be competitive in? There are very few reviews. That's a good question. So there's huge sales, over 10,000 sales in the top 10. Wow. I'd love to know what that is. And another several thousand for the rest of the page. Is this listing growing too fast to be competitive in? There are very few reviews. That's a good question. You're asking, is it a good idea to go into this niche? Huge sales, not many reviews. I suppose it would depend. It would depend how different you can make your listing. If you can get a listing that is slightly different to everyone else's, you can slightly tweak it, or you can bundle it with something else, I'd still consider it. But yeah, it's hard to say without seeing that particular listing. Robert asks, how long have you been selling on FBA? I've been selling about a year and a half now, and learnt a lot of lessons along the way, made a lot of mistakes. So hopefully I can help prevent other people from doing the same. Jeff says, how would you determine it is time to pull a product? I'm trying to think. I suppose it's if the profit margins are very low and essentially it comes down to the profit margins are very low, or worse, you're losing money on items. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I personally think it just comes down to you just kind of know. If it's been a few weeks, you've tried adjusting the price, you've tried optimizing your listing. When you do make changes, it's important to give it time. If you just change your change your main image, for instance, and you check the listing tomorrow and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't got any more sales, you haven't given it enough time. I like to make a big change, wait a week. Don't even look at it. Well, maybe you can look at it, but don't analyze your data for a week. Give it at least a couple of days to kick in, and then give it a week so that you've got a better set of data to compare and kind of go, did that change make a difference? Once I've optimized as much as I can, I feel like, you know, I've optimized my PPC campaigns. I've experimented with a few different sets of keywords. I've adjusted the bidding. I've played with my main image. You know, we've got a tool, Splitly, which is really great for split testing different prices and helping you find the optimal price to increase your profits. If you know, I recommend trying Splitly out. If you're having troubles with a product doing well, you know, you could try Splitly to test two different main images or to test some different prices out. If you've done all that and the profit margins are still very, very low, then I would recommend pulling the plug on that product. Okay. Jude asks, could you explain how you choose your product with the keyword top 10 listings to add to your... Can you explain how you choose with the product from the keywords top 10 listings to add to your product tracker? Okay. I'm sorry if I don't fully understand your question, but when I'm researching something, I just add all the top 10 or 15 listings to the product tracker, all the best-selling ones that catch my eye on the first page. I add them all to the product tracker. If you're talking about how to find the ideal keywords to actually type in, I just try a few different combinations. So I don't know, like if it was yoga mat, I would type in yoga mat. Then I might try like mat yoga, and then you just use your best judgment about which one you think is the most common keyword, and then I would add all of the top listings to the product tracker. Jose says, for those of you that are new to JS, I'm very happy with my first experience with it. I've been selling on Amazon since early Feb, and I have my average sales from 0 to 4 units. I got following Jungle Scout recommendations for your listings. Yesterday, I sold 9 units, more than twice my highest sales per day. Thank you, JS. That is awesome, Jose. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome to hear that, you know, your sales have increased. I'm really glad that Jungle Scout has been able to help you. So thanks for sharing. Okay. Sebastian says, I remember about the amazing seller offering for web app plans. Yes, that's true. So for those of you that don't know, theamazingseller.com is a podcast run by Scott Volker. He's got a great podcast, covers nearly any topic you can think of, and it's a free podcast, so I'd highly recommend checking out his website and his podcast to learn about so many different topics related to FBA. It's a great resource. So and yeah, friends of Jungle Scout, so definitely check that out. Mel says, I apologize if I'm making you repeat yourself, but can you please tell me if the following 2 points are correct? All the sales data on Jungle Scout is derived from the BSR alone, and that sales data is validated, calibrated by Jungle Scout against actual sales data on occasion for some listings. Okay, thanks, Mel. I'll do my best to explain this as clearly as possible. So there are 2 types of data that we get for Jungle Scout. There's estimated sales, and then we also do have what we call real sales data. So the different tools that we have are the product database and the niche hunter and the Chrome extension. They all collect estimated sales data, exactly like you said, which is based off of the bestseller rank from a product, based off of that alone. The other type of data that we get is by counting inventory levels inside the product tracker. That's what we call real sales data, and that's only inside the product tracker. Now, that uses the way we get that is by counting the inventory levels. So that should be a lot more accurate than the estimated sales data. Okay, the estimated sales is an estimate. And yes, the way that we come up with the sales, the estimates, I don't know all the technical terms. I can't explain the data scientist's job because he's a much smarter person than me. But there's a lot of techniques that the data scientists use. But yeah, part of that is by using real sales from real products to help kind of reverse engineer and kind of go, okay, at this bestseller rank, this is how many sales approximately that product would be getting. So yeah, there's a complicated algorithm that comes up with the sales estimate, but we spend a lot of hard work and time on that. We have people working on that full time, so the estimates should be very accurate. So yes, we've got estimates and real sales data. So hopefully that answers your question. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we've been going for about 90 minutes now. I hope, thanks for sticking with me, those of you that are here. And I hope that's been able to answer some of your questions. I hope you've got some value from today's episode. Just keep in mind, we do have some extra resources right down the bottom here. I'd highly recommend checking out the $1 Million Case Study if you haven't already. It's a free case study. Like I said earlier, it covers everything from finding and launching a product and optimizing that listing. So highly recommend you check that out. We share every step along the way. Our YouTube channel has a lot of great content on there. You'll see my face on there a bit. I have a weekly session called Ask Jungle Scout where I answer some questions, and you can feel free to submit any questions that you might have to the show. And yeah, hopefully I'll answer them on that episode. We also have lots of other great content going up on the YouTube channel as well. I recently uploaded a video on the Canton Fair. So head over to our channel if you want to get a glimpse of what that experience was like. So yeah, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Then at junglescout.com, we have a lot of great blogs and resources on there also. And yeah, covering many topics. And if you still have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at support@junglescout.com. And you can send us an email and we'll be happy to get back and do our best to answer your questions. So thanks for joining today. I'm going to wrap it up now, and I'll send out a replay link with today's webinar. If you want to go back and revisit anything, I'll also include the links that I've mentioned today. So yeah, you can check all of that out. And yeah, good luck with your product research. What did you say, Mel? Thank you. Wish you could have played the song on the keyboard behind you. No, you wouldn't be saying that if you heard me playing it, unfortunately. Yeah, my pleasure, Sebastian. I hope you got some value from today. Thanks for your time, guys. And I look forward to seeing you guys around the Jungle Scout community. And good luck with your product research and your product launches and selling on Amazon. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you later.